All right, this is the final task. This should be on page 148. So once you get there, we can go ahead and get started. Go ahead and turn to 148. Okay, this is our last one. Okay, so we have Tova. Tova earns money pet sitting for friends and neighbors. She earns the same amount per hour. So her rate is the same. Okay, so we're going to complete the table to show how much Tova earns for different numbers of hours. Okay, so if her hourly rate is the same, we should be able to use the pattern that we used from task 1, very similar pattern for the table in task 1. So for part A, we're going to complete the table. Now for the first part, we have 2 hours, and money earned is $40. Okay, so for 2 hours, she earned $40. So if she earned $40 for 2 hours, how much would she have earned for 4 hours? Okay. And so what we did is for this, it just doubled, right? So then for this, okay, we're just going to double it. Okay. So then 40 times 2 is 80. Okay. So basically what it is like this is 2, let's see, 2 of the first. Okay. So that's like 2 of the first one. Okay. So if 80, so let's look over here. If 80 is 2 of the original, 120, what would 120 be? Okay. Well, 120 is 40 can fit into 120 3 times. So that means that there are 3 times the amount of money earned on that one as the first. So all we do is we take our first one and we multiply it by 3. Okay, 3 times, which would be 6. Okay. Okay, so now we've filled out our table. We have our table. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this data to create a graph on this graph right here. So what we're going to do is here, let me erase some of this stuff so it's a little bit kind of out of the way. That way we can kind of focus on just the numbers that are in there. Okay. You don't have to erase it if you don't want to. If you've already written that, that's totally fine. I'm just going to do it on here because then it'll be easier to see. Okay, so what we're going to do is our first column is our X, and our second column is our Y. Okay. Hopefully this will look somewhat familiar to you. Pretty sure this is something that you've learned before. But if you need a refresher, I'm going to graph it for you right now. Okay, so for our X value is 2. On my graph, I'm going to go to 2. And then I'm going to go over 2 on the x-axis, and I'm going to go up 40. Okay, so over 2 and up 40 is right there. Okay, do you see how I went over 2 and then I went up 40? Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing with the other 2. So we're going to go over 4 and up 80. And then we're going to go over 6 and up to 120. Okay, so now we have our 3 points. So what do we notice about the points on the graph? Well, I notice that there's kind of a pattern, right? They make a line going up, right? They make a line going up. And we're going to use this, for part D, we're going to use the graph to predict the unit rate or amount that Tova earns per hour. How can you use the table to check your prediction? Let's think about this. If this graph is showing the time and the money earned and everything, and it makes a line, then we can assume that if we make a line that goes through those 3 points, anywhere on that line that the time crosses, that's how much money she earned. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So if I draw a line, and it's not going to be a super straight line, but that's okay. We draw a line. Our line looks like that, and it goes through each of those points. So I can put a point on any spot on this line and find time and money at that particular spot. So I'm going to give you an example. So if I go over to 3 and up, and I go to 3 and I go all the way up to where the line meets the, here, make a dot, well then over $60. $60, 3 hours, she gets $60. Which makes sense because for 3 hours, 3 is exactly between 2 and 4, and 60 is exactly between 40 and 80. Does that make sense? Okay, so we need to use the table to check the unit rate, which means, remember, the unit rate is money earned per 1 hour. Okay, 1 hour. So if the line represents the rate of money and hours, then the line passing across 1 hour is how much she made. It's kind of low down there. Okay. So then her hourly rate, right, would be, and I'm going to write it on the graph here because it's kind of low down there. Okay, so if the line represents the rate of money in hours, then the line passing across 1 hour. Oh, I'm sorry, that's supposed to say line. The line passing across 1 hour is how much she made. So if we look here, we go over 1, and then up to where the line meets, it's right here. And so all we do is we check, oh, that's at $20. So she makes $20 per hour. She makes $20 per hour. Now we can look at the table. Okay, does that make sense? If she get paid $40 for 2 hours, would it make sense that she would get paid $20 for 1 hour? Okay. All right, I think it is time for your next lesson. So it looks great. Let me know if you have any questions.